Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Energy Works. And here I am by myself. This is the first episode that I'm doing solo. Blaine has done solos. Blaine and myself have done many episodes together. And I've done many episodes of Cool People, Big Ideas where I was going to say investigate, interrogate, question, sit, interview. There's the word. Really cool people with some really big ideas. But this is the first time I'm just alone here on Energy Works. And I wanted to talk about either or, both and. And I thought it was a good time to do that because you either have Blaine alone or you have Blaine and me together. But we haven't had or, which is me alone. And so here is a situation where you have either or, either have Blaine alone or you have me alone. And today you've got me alone. But what I really want to talk about is both and, so that we're not ever saying that one thing is better than the other. It's really the uniting of things together, which is what the word yoga means at its root anyway. Yoga means union, bringing together things that are not together. When you're speaking of it yogically, it means bringing together body, mind, and spirit. And but you can yoke, which is another meaning of the word. You can yoke or bring together many disparate things and have a yoga or a union with them. And that's what I want to talk about today. Just briefly, this idea about bringing things together instead of either or, which is this separation. You have a choice. You have this or you have that. Both and brings things together. And this idea came to me because I was just recently back in New England helping my mom through a major surgery. And so I was in the hospital a lot of days, a lot of long days, and there's a lot of stuff going on in a hospital. If any of you have spent time in a hospital setting, you know, especially with someone that's gone through a major surgery, they are connected to so many machines, monitoring so many vital statistics of things that are going on in their body, because we have a very narrow range of what's the word? See, this is where I need Blaine to drop in and give me the word. Now I'm here all by myself. I hope this is going to come out okay. So we have a very narrow range in which we can survive. And we know that on a larger scale, when we think about, we go outside in the weather and it's really cold, so you put on another coat and it gets colder and colder and colder to the point where then you are going to freeze if you don't get warm enough. You can't just stay out in the elements without support like many animals can. We don't have that wide range, and we don't have that wide range physiologically as well. How much oxygen is in your blood, how much salt is in your urine, like all of those things need to be tracked and monitored very closely. So I'm in the hospital and I'm doing my energy medicine work, of course, because that's what I'm going to do. If I'm going to visit you in the hospital, I'm going to do work on your meridians. I'm going to work on your toes. I'm going to work on your aura, all these kind of things that we know support and help healing. So I'm there doing my thing. And all the doctors and nurses are super lovely. No one's like, what are you doing? Waving your hands over your mom. Like everyone's like, oh, what are you doing? You know, I'm working with meridians. Oh, interesting. I get acupuncture. Absolutely. This is very similar to that. So we had these great conversations. And I'm feeling that this is a really good thing because we are bringing together both and Western medicine. Thank goddess that we have Western medicine that is able to literally slice open the human body and do absolute miracle work within. And I'm so grateful for that. And then I'm so grateful that I also get to be doing my energy work at the same time, helping the healing move along, reattach. That's not exactly what's happening, but all of the energy systems that have been cut or opened or shifted because of this massive Western medicine intervention. But then it's mealtime. And the food that they bring to my mom when she is in the most crucial part of healing is, I'm going to use the word here, atrocious. Like, how is that possible? How is the food on that plate? Hippocrates said this way back in Hippocrates' day. He said many things. First, do no harm. Okay. Let food be thy medicine. Let food be thy medicine. So here we are at this incredible healing institution, this hospital that is on the most cutting edge of everything that they do. And then they're giving her this food-like substances to eat. Hyper processed. I couldn't even read on the back of one thing. I was like, let me just see what this is. All kinds of sugars. They're saying now she can't have salt, but there's salt in all of these things. It's just the absolute antithesis of healing food. One of the things that I learned way back in the day is that doctors get like 1 to 3 hours of nutritional information classes when they're training. And what you eat becomes you. And a lot of what you eat becomes your disease patterns. If we look at the major disease patterns that we see in this country alone, I'm just going to stay with the United States, but we could kind of extrapolate this to Western countries in general. We see heart disease, we see diabetes, we see cancers, we see Alzheimer's, which is kind of considered now in the diabetes pocket. We see all of these things that are directly related to what you eat, especially heart disease and diabetes and cancer. Did I just say the same ones that I just said? Especially all of the four horsemen. They are all food related. If you are in the hospital getting a bypass surgery, it is because your veins are clogged because you have eaten too much vein clogging food. The French fries and the ice cream and the burgers and the pepperoni and all of those things clogging your veins. If you have diabetes, you are eating too much sugars, which are in carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates that the food industry just dangles all around us. The cookies, the cakes, the pastas, the breads, they all are so enticing. I drove by after my hike this morning, this little food truck on the side of the road, mini donuts and chai. I was like, I didn't stop, but inside I was like, pull over to the side of the road and give me some mini donuts and chai. That is like my sweet spot and my sweet spot. Oh my gosh. Mini donuts. I'm all up for the mini donuts, but no, because heart disease, diabetes. And then here you are in the hospital having this, whatever you're having. And what they're giving you is not serving your healing functions. And so I was just so curious about this. And I know that there are some institutions, hospitals and schools that have started to move beyond what has been the status quo for so many decades of just, I'm going to say it, crappity crap food that we are feeding our children, that we are feeding the elderly that are in these homes, nursing homes, and that we are feeding the sickest among us in the hospitals, getting exquisite cutting edge care on the one hand, and then being fed something that is the antithesis of healing food on the other. So instead of either or, either you can have Western medicine's beautiful work, or you can have good food, but you can't have them together. I would like to see healing happening on every level in a healing institution. I would love to see gardens growing food on the top of the hospitals, helping to cool the buildings and eating organic, clean, whole foods, cooking specifically for particular diseases that people are in the hospital getting healing for. I know that that adds a lot of work. Gardens, growing food, cooking bespoke food. But it feels like that could solve many problems because there's all of these, everyone's wanting job growth, job growth, job growth. But what about jobs that were actually part of the jobs that the jobs are meant to be doing? So, it would be so beautiful to be one of the workers that are building hospital gardens and gardening there and then cooking in these kind of Alice Watery kitchens for the hospitals, for the schools. So that's my first solo podcast is I would like to see more both and a long, long time ago, I lived in New York City, and I think it was actually after that my sister might have still been living in the city, but they came up with this number that you could call for little things that were wrong in the city. Like if you saw a garbage can had been ripped off its things or whatever, or I think it was called the broken windows law. And I think it actually led to some not great things, but it did lead to some good things in that there was a number that you could call and talk to somebody in charge and be like, hey, this needs to get addressed. Like on my drive home, there's a huge pothole in the middle of the road that is like a bumper busting pothole. And there needs to be a number. There actually is a number for that. And I am going to call that number and be like, there's that pothole you got to fix. But where's the number? Who am I calling in the hospital food delivery world to say, hey, this is a thing? Why? Why isn't somebody putting these pieces together? And while they were very open to some of the alternative things that I was doing there, I have another family member that went through a similar surgery in my home state, and they were not given any kind of alternative options for anything. Would it help your lungs to do some deep breathing? The doctor's like, nah, not really. And I'm thinking, what? Have you read James Nestor's book, Breath? I'll leave you with that. Read James Nestor's book, Breath. And it's time for us to have the both and. The days of either or need to be over. We are stronger together. We need to bring the left and the right hands together so that we can have the unity emerge from within. So there's my thoughts. I don't have an energy technique for you to do for that. Unless you want to, help me figure out how to solve this problem. So there's an action point. Maybe somebody's a hospital administrator or somebody works in expanding healthy food into desert areas, and how crazy it is that one of the food desert areas is the hospitals all across our country. And I'd like to hear if you live in another country besides the United States. Do you have good hospital food? There's my final question for you today. Thanks for tuning in to my first solo either or both and we will both be back with you again really soon at some point in the future. Hope to hear from you, and we'll see you in the ether.